Yeah, baby. Is it getting hot in here, or is it just me? Mind if I take these off? Whoops, I dropped something. Yo, 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 yo. It's your boy Angelo Grosso. And welcome to podcast number 45. I am enjoying an AK-47 joint in honor of the incoming gun laws that are probably coming up, but who are we kidding? Probably nothing will get done, but let's take a quick pufferoo here before we dive in. Oh, yeah. Smooth, baby. So, do you guys ever have a song that gets stuck in your head? And it's not a normal kind of getting stuck in your head. Like it gets stuck in your head for days. And you can listen to it on repeat for a week. Not all the time, but, I would say you probably play it 5 or 6 times a day for about a week, and you still love the song for whatever reason. So I would call that a obsession. Now, I'm experiencing that, obviously, that's why I bring it up. I've never heard this song before, but I must have heard it recently because I downloaded it to my library and I added it to a bunch of my playlists. And I heard it, I would say, a week and a half ago while I was cooking breakfast, and it just kind of clicked. And I've had the song Male Stripper by the band Man to Man. It's Man, the number 2, Man. It's a 1986 high energy dance British club song. Is it high energy? Yeah, okay, okay, so it's also considered disco? Oh no, they're saying the band is disco. Okay. But no, Male Stripper is electronic dance. It's such a fucking awesome song. It's obviously it was for the club scenes back in the mid to late 80s, but I don't know where I heard it from, if it was a TV show or a movie or a podcast. Hell if I know. Added to my libraries, heard it when I was cooking, and I've been playing it non-stop. And I will even hear the song in my head if I'm trying to sleep at night. I don't know why, but it's taken over, and I think I have an explanation for it. It's because it's so catchy. The song doesn't have deep lyrics, obviously. It's a club song. But there's just something about, well, the version I have, because dance songs, there's boatloads of remixes. Now, the one that I've heard is the extended version. It's not produced by, or it's not remixed by another DJ or producer or anything. It's just the extended version or extended mix. I don't know what it's called, but extended's in the name. And I'm trying to blank on the guy's name. Paul Zone is one. It's 2 brothers, Paul and Eric Zone. I think it's Eric Zone. Mickey. No, I was way off. Mickey and Paul Zone. Oh shit, Mickey died of AIDS in 86. Oh man, he died right when the song came out? Son of a bitch. Ugh. Anyway, I don't want to get all mopey here. The song is dankalicious. It just kind of clicks with me. But it's funny because I found out today. Now, I've been singing this song, beating my fist to it, just twerking, having a fun fucking time with it. But I've been singing the wrong lyric. I thought, well, again, I wish I could play the song, but fucking YouTube would kick it off. But I've been singing I Was a Male Stripper in Another Life. I thought it was a song of a male stripper telling someone else that he once was a male stripper and telling his friend or his lover or his companion, what he's telling somebody what it was like being a male stripper. So that's kind of the mentality I've had over the song. Well, finally today, I said, you know what, let me actually look up the lyrics. Now, again, this isn't poetry here, but the main consensus in my head was that the chorus was, I was a male stripper in another life. It's not that. It's I was a male stripper in a go-go bar. I mean, how off can you be? It completely changes the song. And now when I listen to it, it's still a fun song. It still somehow has become one of my favorite songs of all time. I don't know if it's the quarantine, the isolation. I don't know. Maybe I'm turning a little bit gay. I don't know, but I love this shit. And it brought up memories of the many times I have stripped for mostly for my girlfriends or at a party or something. In fact, that's how I got my prom date when I was a senior in high school. As I stripped at it was an all sophomore or junior girls slumber party or whatnot, and they asked me and some of my best friends who were a couple of hot twins. I don't know why they asked me, because I didn't think I was even in the same realm as my hot friends. But they asked all three of us, and we went to this party. Well, first off, we went to Lover's Package and bought a bunch of shit, greased each other up in the parking lot, and then we went into this house. Now, because I'm not gonna say I'm, what's that stripping movie that everybody liked, Magic Mike. I'm not saying I'm a Magic Mike, but I understand the rush. And I think that I'm into it. Like, I think that's why I like the song so much, even though I was singing the wrong lyrics, is because my brief history of myself actually stripping, this song triggered something in that niche emotional safe that I keep those memories in my body somewhere, if that makes any sense. I don't know. It awoken something in me. It's all I'm saying. And putting the past with the new song, I just started thinking of all these really cool ideas for stories or music videos around the song. But it's just strange, and I don't know if I'm the only one that will just hear a song and for whatever reason you just can't kick it. Like, it just becomes such a big part of your existence for a short amount of time. I've listened to it enough. I think today's probably the last day. I've listened to it, I kid you not, probably damn near close to 100 times in the past week and a half, 2 weeks. But I just like the emotions and the memories and the imagination that it stirs up in me, because yes, when I did strip for all my ex-girlfriends, I think it's funny. I like to surprise them, and I have thongs upstairs. I think one's a tuxedo and one's an elephant, where the cock goes in the trunk. That's pretty funny. He has little beady eyes. And I do think it's funny. But I started to think, well, why do I like doing it? Because I think it's, I get the spotlight. I get that I like to show off. I always consider myself a fun dancer, not a good dancer by any stretch of the imagination, but I give it a go. I get an A for effort. Execution, I'll give you a C. But I just like it. I think it's very fun. And so because I was singing the wrong lyrics to the song about I was a male stripper in another life, I started to think, well, shit. I don't know if I believe in past lives, but maybe I was male strippers in a previous life. And I thought of how funny it would be for like a little short story or something, where you follow one individual through all these different eras throughout the world's history, and every single one, he is just a very flamboyant male stripper. And you could put him in ancient Rome, you could put him during Genghis Khan, you can put him during the Aztecs, you could put him through Nazis. It'd just be hilarious. Like, he just keeps jumping through time, and all he wants to do is listen to good music and strip and dance, because that's what he wants. He wants to bring enjoyment to people's lives. And I can identify with that. So, yeah. I recommend y'all check out the song I Was a Male Stripper by Man to Man. And you may not like it. It may not trigger anything in you. But for me, it absolutely triggered all those past memories. And, I feel like I should just tell me stripping to get I didn't even go to strip to get a prom date. But I kind of teased y'all with that. So I can tell you briefly here. But long story short, these girls asked us to go to the house. We did, with our thongs and all the oil and all that shit. We had no prep. We just thought it would be funny if we all just do our own thing. So they lead us into the kitchen. There's this big ass island where they all are, and they're just shit faced and stoned. I get up on the island, my buddies get up, and we just start dancing. They put on music. And it was like Akon, Black Eyed Peas, And I realized at that moment that I was having a fucking blast. I loved it. I was girls were rushing the island and grabbing us and everything. And it was fun. I was just grabbing girls' heads and rubbing it on my chest and my junk and everything. And they were loving it. It was awesome. And we sent them into a fervor, if you will, because we all got a little action afterwards. I didn't get as much. Damn you, Christianity. I felt bad about it at the time. But I did get a prom date out of it. And that's a whole other fucking story with that fucking bitch. But it was such a fun time, not just for myself, but for the ladies in present, that I have been told by a number of the gals at that party how they still remember that. And they still have... It's just so much fun for them. Like, they say it was one of the funnest moments of their life. And I'm being a little dramatic there. But they've remembered. And they all have nice things to say. And I just say thanks. Yeah, I think it's a very funny story. I just get randomly asked to do something like that, and you do it, and that triggers something in you. So, I don't know, man. I'm thinking if I ever get fired, or if I just can't take working for a somewhat evil company, the one that I work for, starts with an A, ends in Mazon, that I may just start an OnlyFans and get some strobe lights and start making some dank tunes and just wear... I don't know if I can get naked, but I'll wear a thong and at least a bow tie. And my OnlyFans videos will just be me dancing to music that I like. And if people want to pay for it, great. I think I'd be quite popular in certain scenes. Oh boy, I don't know. I really need human contact. These are my thoughts. So, anyway, check out the song, Male Stripper. And if you're an ex-girlfriend of mine and if you're listening to this podcast, you probably are thinking, yeah, I remember the couple times or the one time Angela stripped for me. And, I'd hate to admit it, but he was one sexy son of a bitch. Only when he was doing that. That's because that's when he was truly happy and content. I could have been a star. I should have went to Vegas. I would have been a showgirl. Wait, do they have showgirls that are guys? Are they called show guys? Showgirls? Showboys? Maybe that's what I would be. I don't know. I feel like it's a very gay lifestyle, and I'm not gay. Or not 100% gay. I took that test, and I was 4% gay. So I'm 96% not gay. Maybe that's the 4%. I don't know. Maybe every guy has a small... If he's not gay, or he's not on the spectrum, LGBTQ anon, whatever. LGBTQ anon. What the fuck am I talking about? Oh yeah, I feel like most guys aren't 100% not gay. There's got to be a percentage in there, and that percentage can show itself in any number of ways that aren't seen as Western society culturally masculine. With me, it could be my dancing, my male stripping, my gardening, my pedicures. I mean, shit, maybe I'm in the teens here. There's a lot of shit piling up. But oh boy. Anyway, what the hell are we talking about here? Let's move on here. I got a list of things to talk about. See, this is getting more and more organized as we go. Not much though, not much. But speaking overall of organization and really just trying to get this podcast more professional, is over the last couple of months I've reached out to a couple of my friends about doing some artwork or some music or just some stuff for the podcast if they'd be interested in. I've had a lot say they were, but the results really haven't been what I've expected, and no fault to them. I mean, they have their own lives and their own jobs and whatnot, and I know that I'm asking them as a favor, so there's no animosity on my side. But I did a little digging, and I have found a bunch of people online that are willing to do artwork and music and producing and all that stuff for podcasts. And so what I think I'm going to do with my tax return and my stimulus check, because even though I got both of them, I just dropped $900 on a goddamn plumbing situation. So, and then I paid to get my taxes done. So between those two, the stimmy and the tax return ain't really that much money, but it's enough. I don't want to seem like I'm ungrateful, but I want to invest a little bit more into this podcast, maybe getting better software, better microphones, better audio, maybe actually start recording some video. I have a lot of ideas for this, and I'm glad that I'm still invested in it emotionally and mentally, because this was just something I wanted to try out. I thought I had no excuse during quarantine. It's been something I wanted to do for a couple of years, and I thought I ran out of excuses. Let's try it. And now I'm on number 45 here. I think I've taken baby steps in bettering this over the last couple months. I think we're going to almost be coming up on a year here, actually. But yeah, so look forward to it. I'm hoping to, at the bare minimum, get some artwork, get some theme music, get some intro and outro stuff going. Just lift us up a little bit from where it is now. I mean, my loyal listeners, all 5 of you, I love you to death. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know how many I have. I know I hear a lot from certain people about this podcast, and I love y'all for it. So you can always reach out to me and tell me what you think, or if you have an idea, or you guys want to share something. Absolutely, because I still plan on having guests on, and that's another piece of the investment is I want to be able to get a decent setup so that it's not kind of shitty. Anyway, man, we covered a lot of topics in only 15 minutes. I tell you, see? I'm getting straight to the point, baby. I'm not rambling as much. But yeah, let's move on here. What else we got to talk about? So let's transition to our first story tonight, which is, let's talk about celebrity run-ins. Now, I've never really been one to get flustered when I spot a celebrity or an athlete or a politician. Although now that I'm saying it out loud, I think there would be a few, but maybe I should clarify and say the mass majority I don't think would affect me like that. But this whole topic came up because I was talking to a good friend of mine, and he was telling me about a really bad run-in with a celebrity. He shall rename nameless, and so shall the celebrity, because I'm not trying to drag anyone through the muck, but let's just say one person comes out of that story a bit cunty than the other one. But it got me thinking about some of the good run-ins and some of the more painful or embarrassing moments with celebrities, and really including my family. I wrote down a few. When I was a kid, I went to what was it? It was at the Key Arena. And it was kind of like a Kids and the Sonics kind of camp thing for one day, where a bunch of kids got to play on Key Arena, and there was a bunch of Sonics players from the 90s there. I believe Hersey Hawkins was there, Detlef Schrempf, Gary Payton, and maybe some others. That big fucker Vin Baker wasn't there, I'll tell you that. But Vin Baker, that bitch. And you know what? I feel bad for Vin Baker. I shouldn't call you a bitch. I'm sure you're a nice guy, but you kind of got scapegoated in the whole Sean Kemp thing. But that's a whole other podcast. But I got to meet a few of my, athletic icons as a kid in that camp. Fast forward a couple weeks or months, I don't really remember. My mother and I are at a fast food place, and who should walk in those doors was Gary Payton. This is when the Sonics, I believe, this was after 95. So the Gary Payton, I think it may have been his that was in high school, it was his last year. It doesn't matter, but he was still in his prime. He was still very popular. Gary Payton was bald, and there was jokes around Gary Payton's head that he had kind of a misshapen head. I didn't read anything to it because I was a kid. Some people say that it was kind of racist the way that they were talking about this black man's head, but I don't know. Fuck if I know. But bring it back to the restaurant. This is probably like a McDonald's or a Dairy Queen or shit. In walks Gary Payton. He's got a few guys with him. I'm guessing, manager, trainer, friends. Who fuck knows? My mom spots him. Again, my mother doesn't know sports. But she does recognize Gary Payton, and she says out loud, "Hey, Angelo, is that funny-looking bald guy, does he play basketball?" She said that in a whisper, but very loudly. And he heard, and he was like, ugh. Like, I could tell that he did not like it. So, of course, I was mortified. Still, to a middle school kid, that was horrifying. My mother also did that same exact thing with a girl that I liked from my school. She didn't insult her, but she insulted me. I was at the Dairy Queen in Fairwood, Renton. In walks Brittany. Huge crush on her. I must have been in 7th or 8th grade. In walks this girl that I have a crush on. I immediately just want to get my food and go to a booth and just try to ignore her. Like, I don't want her to see me. I'm mortified to be with my mom. You're at that stage where you don't want to be seen with your parents. So anyway, I'm like tugging on my mom, like, come on, let's go. And she was like, what are you rushing me for? What's wrong with you? But it's too late. Brittany spotted me. She came over with her mom, the pleasantries. I was, of course, red-faced and just embarrassed to high heavens. And Brittany introduces herself, and my fucking mother said, oh, is this the Brittany you talk about? And I fucking died. I must have lost any color I had in my face. And I'm surprised I didn't piss and shit myself right then and there. And of course, Brittany got really embarrassed, started laughing and smiling, and the mom was like, oh, my mom was fucking clueless. It took her a while to realize that she embarrassed me to the 10th degree. I still like to tell this story. My mother embarrassed the ever-loving bejesus out of me as a young man. Now that I'm a little older, I can look back and say, yeah, it wasn't that bad. But when you're at that age, anything your parents do that shines light on you at any kind of social situation, you just want to poke your fucking eyes out with the nearest sharp object. But we're not talking about parenting. We're talking about celebrities and run-ins. Ugh. God, it's so easy to get off topic. It's this damn lemon cake joint. But, yeah. Probably my best run-in with a celebrity was when I was in California for one of my best friend's weddings. And I went to an ice cream shop in Los Angeles. I don't remember the specific area. I was with the newlyweds, myself, and a couple other buddies. And everyone kind of filtered out of the ice cream shop, but it was just me and the newlyweds that got left. There's just 3 of us. In walks Jonah Hill. And he had a girl on his arm. And this was roughly right after Superbad. So he is mega famous, but he's still very kind of an unknown. But he's mega famous. And I look at him, we make eye contact, but I don't want to embarrass myself and go over there and start getting all flustered and getting his autograph, whatnot. That's not who I am. But I kind of give him a head nod. He makes eye contact with me. He knows that he's been recognized, but I don't make a big deal about it. I order my food. I tell my friends, hey, that's Jonah Hill over there. But they live in Hollywood, and at the time they were struggling actors, so they could give a fuck. They ran into actors every single day as part of their job. So anyway, we go sit down and start eating the ice cream, and Jonah Hill and his girl sit a couple tables away from us. We finish before them, and I think to myself, I gotta say something. So on the way to the trash can to throw away my garbage, I walk by and I say, hey, I just want to let you know, big fan. People say we look alike. Because we kind of do. Jonah Hill and myself, especially back in those days, little chubby, big thick glasses, curly hair, same height. And without missing a beat, he said, oh, you must be a lucky guy. And I laughed, he laughed. He introduced himself to my friends. He introduced his girlfriend at the time. I think now they're married. I think that's his wife now. And I'll be damned if he legitimately chit-chatted with us for about 15, 20 minutes. Like, he went out of his way to ask us where I was visiting from, how do you like it? I was busting his balls, he was busting mine. But I didn't ask him for an autograph or anything. And we told him, we don't want to keep you, but can we just get a quick photo? And I felt so guilty asking for a photo with him. And yeah, we took it. And this is back when we still had physical photographs, but I think that one's digital, now that I think about it. It's on one of my social media sites. I don't know. But Jonah Hill was a cool guy, so I've always been a fan of him because he was such a down-to-earth dude. He could have been, a real prick about it. That same trip, I met a lot of celebrities on that trip. I met Jim Belushi. Is it Jim Belushi or John Belushi? Whatever one didn't die. The lesser one that's liked. The one that fate decided to keep. It's because we accidentally walked through a movie set. I believe that day we were in San Jose. It was the last day before I had to fly back. But anyway, we were commenting on how empty the streets were in a major city like San Jose. Well, it was empty because they were fucking filming something. We'd walked right on the set. But nobody was a dick. They kind of ushered us out. And there, lo and behold, was Jim Belushi and another actor that I never knew who he was, but I recognized the face as being a celebrity. And I don't know what was wrong with me. I may have been stoned or drunk, and I just kind of yelled out a very broy Belushi, like, "Hey, Belushi!" And he looked over like, "Huh?" And I started to laugh, and then he just kind of laughed at me, probably like, "This fucking cocksucking kid over here." But it was fun, you know. I don't get to yell out people's names very often. But so those are the more of the positive run-ins, and I won't even say the Belushi one was that positive, but you get to yell at someone. That's kind of funny. I met a lot of athletes growing up because I used to go to sport card conventions with the old man. He collects sports memorabilia, and so I got to see a lot of baseball Hall of Famers, a lot of boxing Hall of Famers, and ever so often we met a few wrestlers. Now, I was a huge wrestling fan growing up, and I met Bret Hart, I met Diesel, Razor Ramon. Boy, when I met Bret Hart, my little 8-year-old heart almost exploded. I made a fucking sign for him, and I went to Monday Night Raw, held the sign up. It wasn't Monday Night Raw, but it was the event before Monday Night Raw. It was for the white trash people who didn't have enough money to go to Monday Night Raw. Anyway, I made a big-ass sign, and I ran to the front, and he looked at it and said, "Nice sign, kid," or something, directly to me, and I lost my shit. I'm surprised I didn't jizzy in my pants. God damn, I love Bret Hart. But, so I really don't count them as a run, because I never really got to speak one-on-one with them. However, saying all that, there was a giant sports memorabilia convention at the Tacoma Dome when I was probably a freshman in high school, or a sophomore in high school. And this was a giant one. This was like the biggest one we've ever been to. Now, my father and I went to the same convention every year for the previous, 5 or 6 years. But this one, for whatever reason, had so many Hall of Famers. I'm talking Ozzie Smith, La Russa. You had a bunch of Seattle Mariners showing up, Freddy Garcia, Carlos Guillen. You had some Sonics showing up. You had local players, but you also had some big timers. And this was the first time where they actually brought in professional wrestlers in. And so, lo and behold, who was hanging out on the day we went was Goldberg. Now, some of you may not remember, but in the early 2000s and the late 90s, WCW kind of found a resurgence with the NWO, and the WWF countered with Generation X. And so they kind of canceled each other out, but you still had megastars. And in my opinion, the WCW's Stone Cold Steve Austin was Goldberg. Now, Goldberg, how big is Goldberg? Because in person, the guy looked like the Mountain from Game of Thrones, fucking Clegane. But just like me, my old man likes to run his mouth. And at this point in time, WWF, I believe, had just bought WCW. So there was a lot of wrestlers that were on the outs, that were not being carried over. Goldberg, obviously being a megastar, if not the number one, definitely in the top of WCW, initially did not go because he did not want to work with Vince McMahon because, as we all know, Vince McMahon is a giant cunt. But let's just see, what is Goldberg's stats here? I love if I type in Goldberg's stats like it's a fucking video game. All right, Bill Goldberg, here we go. Yeah, he's 6'4", 285 pounds. When I met him, he was probably a little skinnier. He was probably in his 260s. But my dad walked up to fucking Goldberg and said, "Why didn't you go to WWF?" And Goldberg is there just to sign autographs, not to get grilled by some Italian greaseball, you know what I'm saying? But to Goldberg's credit, he said, just nodded. My dad wouldn't let it go. My dad kept bugging him questions about why didn't he go? He was so big. Why isn't he in movies? My dad was just asking him a billion questions. And finally, Goldberg got up and, tapped my dad on the back like a friend would. But, he's a little bit forceful. Like, "Come on, keep walking, old man." My dad, to this day, still talks about how Goldberg kind of hit him on the back. He said his entire back popped. And any kind of back problem he had was instantly fixed. And he likes to joke that Goldberg missed his calling as a chiropractor or a back surgeon. Ha ha ha. But I was mortified because, of course, I looked up to Goldberg. My dad's embarrassing his fucking self about fucking personal life and everything. But to his credit, Goldberg handled it pretty good. Besides smacking my dad on the back. God. I'm just having all these memories of the fucking athletes. I met Mike Zanino at an autograph signing. He was a cool kid. I loved nothing more, and I still do, and I really can't wait for baseball to start up for this very reason, but I love nothing more than going to Safeco Field, buying some cheap tickets, going to the beer garden, and start shit talking the players in the bullpen. No, when I shit talk, I don't get mean. I just bust balls a little bit, and it's never the opposing players. It's always our players. I remember specifically the one time Felix Hernandez was warming up in the bullpen, which, I mean, I would imagine anyone listening has been to Safeco Field. You know that the beer garden is right next to the bullpen, so you can actually see the ball players warming up. There's not a lot of space between them. And Felix was throwing to Jesus Montero, who was a fat prospect that washed out of baseball. However, at the time, he was hot shit. Now, I was shit-faced. Me and my buddy both were. We both had girls at the time who were also shit-faced. And I remember just talking so much shit to Felix Hernandez and Jesus Montero. Hey, look at these girls here. I bet you want to kiss them. What do you want to kiss us? You know, just saying stupid bro-y shit. And Jesus Montero actually came over and chit-chatted with the ladies. He didn't talk to me and my buddy, who were ecstatic that this guy's talking to us. These two girls had no idea who he was. But they had boobs, and so that's why he was talking to them. But God, yeah, I have never, in my opinion, really embarrassed myself in front of celebrities. I've done it once that I can remember, and it was recently. But before I get to that, I didn't have as much of a one-on-one time with this person. Was I met Britney Spears right after Baby One More Time. I was in 7th grade. I was hardcore puberty at the point, popping woodies every 20 minutes, baby. And the main girl who was making me pop all those woodies, I was meeting. Her name was Britney Lynn Spears. I used to go with my buddies to the grocery stores and steal all the Tiger Beats, all the pictures of her. We used to have collages in our rooms. We'd take it to school and trade it. I mean, it was awesome. Let's be honest. It was pretty cool. But I waited in line to meet her. So that's why I don't really count that as a running, because you waited in line. This was an autograph signing. But I got to meet Britney Spears for about 30 seconds. Told her my name, told her I loved her. She said thank you. She signed with a little heart on this magazine that I brought. And I just, I chowder house my pants. I'm sure I did. But I still have fond memories. Because that's like, Britney Spears was the heroine who ushered me through the main parts of the puberty life, if that makes any sense. Like, most boys are getting a hard-on to anything that's a female, and that's really about it. It doesn't matter what she looks like, to be honest. But if you can hold off to that top shelf material, Britney Spears was absolutely number one for me. So, to me, I hold that in high esteem in terms of my celebrity, singer, athlete meetups. But that's, to me, that's a caveat, because I had to wait in line to get the autograph. But back to the last run-in I had with a celebrity was Ann Wilson from the band Heart. Not really a giant celebrity, but she is in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Heart is a giant band around these parts. Classic rock, of course. And I don't need to tell you the songs, but most Heart songs should be considered in the national anthem running. That's all I'm saying. She came into the office where I work to do a little small concert, and this was promoting her album where she was covering songs of dead musicians that she was friends with. And so there was a bunch of Bowie covers and Petty covers and blah, blah, blah. And for whatever reason, when she was singing the Chris Cornell song, I started to cry. And I'm talking cry. And I'm at work. These are my coworkers in this room with me. And I'm not like sobbing, breaking down, but I'm, obviously crying. So she finishes singing. There's like a little meet and greet. I'm waiting because I want to be the last person to talk to her. And when it's my turn, there's no one else in the room. I'm still teary-eyed, and she said something to the effect of, "Were you the one that was crying?" Were you the one that was crying during the song? And I said yes. And she said, "Well, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, I said, "You don't need to apologize." I said, "I just I get so sad when these musicians that I love so much and they died, and just hearing you sing, and I tell you, the waterworks came out, that fucking Hoover Dam opened up, and I was just puking out emotional nonsense to poor Ann Wilson, who ended up giving me a hug and like patting my back. And the funniest part of this is that my manager was the second to last person to talk to her because he was somewhat emotional to it. Nowhere in the same ballpark. We still joke about it. But just doing that in front of my manager. I mean, I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about the fucking conversation I had with her. I don't know what. It just triggered something in me. But, yeah. But, I forgot about... I mean, okay. I don't want to make this whole podcast about my celebrity run-ins here. But when that same California trip... It may have been another one, people. I don't know. I've been to California 2 or 3 times for weddings. Fuck if I remember. But I met the majority of the cast of Reno 911 at a comedy bar. Not a comedy bar, but it was like there was an improv concert or whatever you want to call it, improv show, and then in the same venue there was a big ass bar and a club. So they basically shared a wall in between, and it was awesome. I talked to the blonde woman, I forget her name, and I talked to the tall black guy, and strangely enough, the star of that show that was getting the most laughs and the most applause ended up being the person that no one really knew. We didn't know who he was. He wasn't on Reno 911. But a couple months later, he came up as Stevie or Stewie in Eastbound and Down. You know, Danny McBride's, like, obsessive friend. And that's when I saw the show, I was like, that's the motherfucker from the improv class. So, yeah, that was kind of cool. I didn't talk to him, though, but I did talk to a few Reno 911 actors, and that was awesome. That was awesome. I also met Matt Freeman, the bassist, I believe, from Rancid. I was taking a piss at the showbox. He came in, took a piss next to me. I didn't know who he was. My buddy who was washing his hands yelled, "Oh my God, you're fucking Matt Freeman from Rancid!" And to his credit, to keep up the characteristics of Rancid, he said, "Oh man, I'm in the fucking bathroom." Wait, come on. Nobody wants to get noticed when they're dick in their hand pissing. You know, come on. So yeah, those are some quick celebrity stories that I have that involve me and some of my family. I'm sure there's more, but that's the only one that's coming too. If you have your own celebrity stories, shoot them my way. I'll talk about it. Ones that you impress them or the ones that you just kind of shit the bed and you really embarrass yourself. But you know what? It's all good. I'm sure celebrities are used to people shitting on themselves when they're met, when they're getting met, you know. I don't know who would do that to me. I'm a big Ryan Reynolds fan, but I don't think I would lose my shit. There's no politician, maybe Bernie Sanders, but I would just be more in awe. And I just wanted to thank him, but I don't think I would be like so awestruck I couldn't talk and my bowels would just release themselves. So I don't really know. I'd have to really think about it, but yeah. You guys have a funny celebrity story? Shoot it my way. We can chat on the podcast. But yeah, let's keep this train a-moving. All right. According to the schedule here, what I've written down to talk about today's podcast, I just wrote not cheap, just retarded. So I don't know what my own notes mean. So I'm not cheap, I'm just retarded. What the hell does that mean? I really have to start elaborating on my notes. Oh, I remember. Okay. So here's how I'm not cheap, just retarded. Is that I don't think this is just an Angelo problem. I think this is a quite a common millennial problem, which is if you were raised in a family that either was living paycheck to paycheck or things may not have been very tight financially, but you didn't really splurge a lot. There wasn't a lot of giant outings, you know. Everything was budgeted. It was like a family meeting to budget. So I don't know. I feel like that's very, very common, unless you're the elite. But anywho, so because I was raised by that, certain things were harder to purchase than other things. Duh. You know, it's easier to go to a grocery store every week and a half to 2 weeks than it is. Let me rephrase that. It's easier financially to buy groceries once a week, once every 2 weeks. That makes sense mentally and emotionally because you need food. The grocery store makes sense for X amount of money, and if you spend a little bit too much, it's probably because you needed it. It's okay. You may splurge here and there, but for the most part, grocery shopping, you get what you need, what you maybe want, and every so often, maybe a little treat. That makes more sense than spending the same amount of money on plumbing or getting your car fixed or just fixing something. So I was kind of raised to, yeah. If something breaks or needs repair, you have to figure it out yourself. You have to at least attempt to. Other things, well, sure, throw money at it to fix it. That makes sense. If a new movie comes out, we're gonna buy it. And a new TV, a new cell phone, we're gonna buy it. A new computer, whatever. Oh, but my car's making noise. Don't take it to a mechanic. That's a waste of money. We'll figure it out. And instead of maybe cutting back on some of the prior expenses, yeah, you actually probably save money by taking it to a mechanic right away. But you have to do your research up the mechanics. My point being, a lot of us were raised that it's okay to spend money on some things, but it's not okay to spend money on other things. So I've had that mindset really up until just before I bought this house, which I wish I kind of chipped away at that belief system before I bought the house, because it's so hard for me to pay a plumber, to pay an electrician, to pay a landscaper, because I instinctively think that I can figure it out. I don't even like to ask for help because I want to do it myself, because that's kind of how I was raised. My parents never asked for help for anybody for anything. If they couldn't do it themselves, then they would throw a tantrum and then call someone, a professional, and then bitch the whole time that they had to waste all that money. It's like they couldn't figure out that, hey, you couldn't do it, so that's why it's expensive. That makes sense. That's how this economy works, a bitches. So I'm slowly getting out of this mindset of, it's okay to spend more than $40 on a pair of shoes, because I was raised to, let's go to the clearance rack. We'll take you to the nice places, but we can only buy off the clearance rack. Because I was such a consumerism little prick at that age, I had to have the name brands. I wish, 34-year-old Angelo could go back to like 14-year-old Angelo and just bitch slap them and be like, you know what? You don't need to wear Abercrombie and Fitch. First off, you're too fat for them. They don't make clothes for teenagers that look like you. Sorry, they just don't. They just don't. Go to the Gap, get an XL, and just be happy that it feels good and it's comfortable. Who cares that it's Gap and not Abercrombie and Fitch? You pretentious fuck. But he's 14. He doesn't give a fuck. At 14, he just wants to see titties and bush. That's all. What the hell was I talking about? Oh yeah. So, it's always strange to me what I was willing to spend money on. Like, I will go to a hardware store and spend hundreds of dollars on shit for the yard, shit for the house, tools. Like, I have no problem because, I need all this stuff. But when it comes to, like, personal grooming, like shaving and razors, electrical razors, I should elaborate on, shoes, certain apparel, like, I can spend as much money as I want on a hoodie. But if I'm buying a pair of shoes, I have a budget. It makes no sense. And I started to really think about, why am I like this? Why can I go to a nursery and spend $200 on plants, but I have a hard time spending more than $20 on an electrical shaver? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me? And so that's when I realized I'm not cheap. It's not because cheapness is stopping me from buying a more expensive and hopefully therefore better electrical shaver, but I'm just retarded because I'm stuck in the old ways of how I was raised. I can afford to get this, whatever electric. I finally bought in my opinion, an expensive electrical shaver, and I felt so old and mature doing it because the price was like $80. I have never spent anything more than like $30 on that stuff. But you know what? That shit always breaks. The cheap shit always breaks. There's a reason it's $30. It's a reason I go to Ross and it says, hey, this is $60, but you're buying it for $20. And the thing breaks in a year and a half. This shit I bought from Costco. Costco is the adulting gateway drug. It eases you into adulthood. And once you're in, they got you hooked. Now you're hooked. You started off with marijuana and the occasional acid, and now Costco's having you fucking doing bath salts and eating people's hearts out of their fucking chest. It's crazy. Costco is a mean, manipulative bitch, but I can't quit you. I love you. I'll be back soon. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. So, if you guys are experiencing the same kind of thing that I am, where you, for whatever reason, certain things just cause you financial panic, you just cannot do it, You will keep buying fucking shoes that fall apart in a year, even though you can afford a little bit better. It's like you don't deserve to treat yourself a little bit, if you can afford it, of course. I can afford some things now. On the last podcast, which is, I apologize to anyone listening to the last podcast. That thing was brutal. It's just me bitching and whinging. Thus, the title, The Great Whinge of 21. Anyway, the past Angelo would not have spent that money on fixing his plumbing problems. If he was quoted that, he would lose his shit and have a panic attack and end up calling as many plumbers as he can to get the cheapest one possible, which, guess what? They would probably do a cheap, awful job, and whatever they fix may burst again, and then you're going to invest more money, and then eventually you're going to spend more than if you just paid the piper, so to speak, and got it over with. But it's just that nobody wants to be taken advantage of one way or the other, but it also gets detrimental when you start doing that to yourself. It's this weird dynamic that we have. We don't want to one-up ourselves. We don't want to fool ourselves that we deserve this luxurious item. It's not a luxurious item. You deserve comfortable shoes. You deserve a shaver that doesn't butcher your fucking face. You deserve to have nice appliances that don't break after a year of usage. You deserve things that are going to last, that you're going to have to spend a little bit more money on. And this is coming from a progressive Bernie-crat who constantly says, I don't give a fuck if taxes go up a little bit. Shit, as long as shit goes to the right places. Well, I talk a big game, and I have no problem paying those taxes. But I have a problem spending a little bit of money and invest in myself and get a nice pair of shoes. Ugh. Again, I'm not cheap. I'm just retarded. Oh, boy. Yeah, if you guys are like that, let me know. We'll talk about it. I think we'll close this podcast on a high note. I have a few dating updates for y'all, for some of y'all thirsty bitches out there that love to hear about my love life, because it is fucking wild out there. But let me back up a little bit. I kind of took a few weeks off of the online dating scene because it was not putting me in a good state of mind. There was nothing but fishy ass accounts for what seemed like months. And when you do start to talk to somebody, most of them turn out to be terrible people or not who you want to keep talking to, or just different kinds of scams. It's amazing how many women want to talk to me about financial advice and wanting to send me links to invest gold in. And I don't know why all these girls tend to be of the Chinese origin, but I'm not saying anything. But anywho, so kind of not been on the apps. But I saw over the last few weeks that the COVID numbers have been going down. And so I thought, let me see what's going on. I reactivated a few of the dating accounts I had. And for the last 2 weeks or so, it's been a little bit more active. And when I say active, I mean it's more active in the non-scammy, non-fishy accounts. Because those free blowjob accounts and those OnlyFans accounts are still there, but they're not as many, and they're getting kicked off a lot more because it's more active, I suppose. So I've been talking to a few ladies, and I actually had a first meetup over the weekend at the 13 Coins out there in Tukwila. Love that fucking place. And yeah, I think it went pretty good. We're still chit-chatting, and we're talking about meeting up a second time. So yeah. That's been some good news. Talking to a few others, but no one quite ready to meet up yet. But yeah, this is good. I can tell that it makes me a happier person. Just overall, I'm just in a happier mood because you're talking to some ladies. So if y'all are like me, living that COVID single life, and you're kind of ready to jump off the roof, I would say the numbers are going down. And vaccines are going up, and the people who once said they weren't going to get the vaccine, those numbers are starting to decline, and more people are willing to get the vaccine now, which is all good news. How the fuck did I get a splinter? Ugh, fucking life, am I right? So, I just saw that all Washingtonians should be eligible for the vaccine by what? April 15th, which is what, a couple weeks away. So, hey, all signs are pointing in the right direction. So, now's the time to kind of get out of your single hibernation out there and put yourself out there, in my opinion. I started, and it's starting to pick up. Some quality people are actually on there now, which is nice. But hey, for right now, I feel like I'm on cloud nine, at least in this area of my life, which is good because it really had been a desolate roadkill strewn highway for quite a long time after really November. So no, November is pretty shitty too. I would say October was fun, and November I went on. I think my last date was early November, and since basically all of November to what, a couple weeks ago, the middle of March, oof, fucking awful. I can understand why QAnon membership is going up, because people are bored as shit, and if they're single and lonely and they get angry, oof, watch out. Anywho, I wanted to end on a happy note. Fuck. I love y'all. Hope y'all take it sleazy. Don't do anything I wouldn't do, and obviously, don't punch an Asian for being Asian, you fucking idiot. Don't be stupid and racist. You know, you can hate a country's government, but don't hate the people, you fucking mook. No. Get the fuck out of this country if you're gonna do that shit. If I see anybody harassing Asian people just because they're Asian, I'm coming at you. Now, if you're yelling at someone who happens to be Asian because they did something, whatever, well, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But if you're doing to be racist, uppercut to the throat. Anyhow, I love y'all, and see you next time.